been hearing quite a bit about the trucker protests lately, as every Canadian has, and as someone that prides himself on pretty strong opinions, I'm here to give everyone else the objectively correct take on these protests. Um, I've been seeing a lot around, like, especially on a university campus, a lot of students being fed the typical media, Canadian media cabals misinformation and, spouting that out, trying to discredit the protests and the trucker movement as a whole. And so I just wanted to get off a couple of things and give people the true, real information on this matter. We all know that the group of liberals, located in Ottawa, are some of the most corrupt people on the planet. The mayor of Ottawa, Jim Watson, describing his fellow Canadians in quite disgusting terminology, just shows that the liberal establishment in this nation, just how much they disdain and hate Canadians. Justin Trudeau's comments in the House of Commons recently, going into hiding during this whole thing, and you know, and now two Liberal MPs now are coming out against him. So it's great to see that even though, like, these corrupt Liberals who own all the media in this country, the CTV, Global, CBC, through kickbacks and everything, the narrative is starting to shift in the right direction. And recently, Premier Kenny and Premier Moe announced that they are lifting these COVID rules. Convenient timing, if you ask me. If you ask around those circles, let's say the trucker protests didn't really have anything to do with it, but we all know that, yeah, the trucker protests had quite a lot to do with it. Yeah, but going forward after this, we just have to look at the politicians in this country differently. We have to go and look at all the gutless conservatives, the gutless conservatives in the rallies who didn't go meet the truckers, who didn't vocally support conservative and freedom-oriented causes. We have to look at them and go, okay, you're getting nominated. You're gonna go through a nomination contest and find some real, authentic, conservative, and freedom-oriented people and push them in and sort of change this country for the better. And this sort of goes into, we need politicians that can't be bought. The trucker protest exposed quite a lot about who is sort of bought and sold by the World Economic Forum in this country. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the video of Klaus Schwab at a meeting giving a talk about how in Canada a lot of the young cabinet ministers and Justin Trudeau ascribe to the World Economic Forum and all the messaging and all the policy that they want to put through, which is very very concerning for anyone who wants to have a nation for themselves instead of some globalist dystopia. But the response of these officials just shows that the truckers are winning. Like, and a wounded animal is the most defensive right before it's about to go. Like, if you go up to, like, a wounded coyote that's just about to die, it will be at the point where it'll attack you the most because it has nothing left to lose. So might as well go out swinging. And the emergency acts popping up all over Ontario and Alberta towards these truckers, and them trying to mobilize the military and the police force to deal with the truckers. It's just proves that they're desperate. And the military, I don't like, this is unprecedented in Canada, but I do not think the military would fire upon their own people. I feel like a lot of people in the military would agree with these protests and want these restrictions lifted. The city police, on the other hand, conservatives need to get over that the police are our greatest allies, because over the last few years, the police have shown that they are just the jackboot of the state. They don't really have the interest of the Canadian people at mind, and mostly they're just interested in a paycheck. And there's very few, like, real, like patriotic Canadian police officers. If there were more, they'd be resigning, but they're staying in their positions, and you know, you got to collect that pension. And I've seen a video of a Calgary police officer earlier today talking about it, and how, you know, he doesn't like the actions that the Ottawa police are taking. It's like, okay, that's a good start, but we need a lot more police to be vocal about this, and how they do not want to go and arrest peaceful protesters. They don't want to go out into these protests and start putting up barricades and moving people out as their due right to protest. Yeah, that's something that most people aren't willing to take. But yeah, the police aren't our friends. And over the last year, you know, like around the business communities in Calgary, the police will go up to the people in these businesses, to make sure they're going. It's like, oh well, we don't like these, we don't like the restrictions, and we don't like enforcing this, but we got to because it's our job. It's like, if you didn't support them, you wouldn't be enforcing them. You're just trying to say this to ease up on people, or to have people ease up around you, and it's all a part of this rhetoric that is going around. And speaking of that rhetoric, circling back to the university students that I see, and a lot of young people, they have such a weird conception of this. The lie that was brought out, saying that people were urinating and desecrating the tomb of the unknown soldier. One of the most guarded, and like a monument, the most guarded monument in Canada, that's under 24-hour surveillance, and we don't have a picture, a video, or any arrest records of anyone. We have zero evidence to prove that anyone has desecrated the site. The only picture I've seen of that is a bunch of people praying there, using it as a prayer spot. And, you know, the media has shown that they're not above lying and using disruptive and discouraging language to help the liberal establishment out. Like, even just a reaction to the Terry Fox statue. You know, saying that they are desecrating, and I hear university professors talk about this too, that they're desecrating these statues. And the only thing I saw was, you know, someone put a hat, a flag, and a sign on it. I think the sign says something like "mandate freedom," so something very like tame. And you know, they'll say that's desecrating a statue, but covering our founding prime minister in red paint and tearing him down with rope, that's perfect for a peaceful protest in this country. So yeah, whatever you hear on the media, do not trust the media. The CBC is essentially just a propaganda wing at this point. It has been for the longest time, but even in recent years, it's going back to the wounded animals, the most aggressive when it's about to die. The CBC has been going downhill in years. I don't know anyone that reliably watches the CBC. Even their TV shows are garbage. Like, I can't name you a single good CBC TV show that you had the Rick Mercer Report. You know, we would watch the Rick Mercer Report as a kid. And this hour has 22 minutes. That was kind of funny at some points, but really downhill pretty fast. And no one's watching it. Same with CTV and Global. Like, the gym I go to has like CTV on 24/7. I have to look at like Lisa LaFlamme's face every time I'm working out, which I do not like. But just the rhetoric that they are just putting up on screen, they're making it look like the truckers are having an armed siege of Parliament, when it's just a bunch of people out there honking their horns during the day. Oh, and that's another thing. They say that they're honking their horns, but like, from a lot of the sources I'm hearing, some people that live in Ottawa and around the area, the truckers are being very polite. They stop honking at around 9 or 10 when noise bylaws kick in. They're not harassing anyone. The only people I see harassing are the leftist counter protesters coming up to the trucks and, beating on them, yelling at people. Um, Pretty funny. I've heard that I have some cousins out there that work for the federal government that are really angry, and it just, the dichotomy between me and them, me being someone who is pretty, freedom oriented, pretty conservative person, compared to these lefties that I'm related to that work for the federal government that are screeching Trudeau supporters. So I just find that funny. Uh, but yeah, to the truckers, everyone supporting them, everyone donating their money. This country supports you. A mass majority of people in this country support you. I think, like, the people that don't support you are useless university students and people on Twitter, which people on Twitter don't even really count as people anyway. So yeah, this country supports you. When I was driving to work a few days ago, it's a pretty busy highway where I live, and I take it to get to work. So I was on an off ramp, and there was a car at the bottom of it with a tow truck, towing the car, probably broke down. And this lady on this off ramp to a pretty busy highway, she was on the shoulder, and she was holding up a sign that says "Support our truckers." And you just have to appreciate the grassroots. Like, this is what the left fears. They fear like a genuine right wing, or not even right wing. Like, a lot of people I hear are center left, center right people. They're just average grassroots blue collar people. They fear the average blue collar Canadian because when they choose to take power for themselves, when they choose to seize the moment, they are the most powerful force in this country. And when they don't, like, these leftists like to talk, especially on university student campuses, they like to talk about workers seizing power, workers of the world unite, and all that commie stuff. But when these truckers and the actual people in charge of labor in this country unionize against causes that they don't like, they start screeching. They're like, "No, not like that, not like that. I don't want you to. I don't want you." I don't want you to go like that. I don't want you to support like that. And it's pretty funny. It is pretty funny. Yeah, if they weren't scared of losing, they wouldn't be this defensive. So yeah, going forward, we have to, like, break the social conditioning of people. Like, over the past 2 years, people have been socially conditioned to not trust their fellow Canadians, to trust these TV politicians and TV doctors over their fellow man, over their brothers and sisters in Canada. And we've seen division, like over the past election. Trudeau drove a stake between people, politicizing COVID to the highest degree and making a key campaign issue. And now you have people that have been conditioned by the media, like, oh, anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, and ascribing people into these groups instead of just viewing them as people with their own circumstances. They compartmentalize them and go, I don't like them. They're the undesirables that the CBC told me to be afraid of, and they won't associate with them. They won't even offer common courtesy to them. Like, you see these crazy leftists in, like, stores. It's like someone's not wearing a mask and they just go up and start harassing them. It's like, you don't know if they have an exemption. I mean, there's so many different reasons of why someone could not want to wear a mask and straight up couldn't wear a mask that you don't know, and you decide just to take it upon yourself to go and harass them yourself. Like, this is the type of social engineering that the trucker protesters are breaking. Like, this country has been so divided for so long, and people need to start to wake up. And this is the first step at that. The first step is to start getting freedom into the minds of the people again, then electing freedom-oriented politicians that hopefully have the the will of the people behind them, have the interest of the Canadian people behind them, and want to work for the Canadian people. Don't hate us. Don't want to sell us out to the globalists. Like, is that so hard to ask for, like, a government that doesn't want to sell us out? Is that hard? Is that so hard to ask? Like, hey, I want you to, like, run this country in a way that doesn't disenfranchise me and my family, you know, that won't sell us out, that won't make people without a university degree, like, homeless. Like, not everyone can, like, make. I think it was one of the Liberal MPs that said this. It's like, not everyone can make a living off of a laptop at a cottage, and that is so true. And that's what a lot of these metropolitan people, like, don't understand. Like, the high rise people in, like, Edmonton or Toronto or Calgary or Winnipeg, these high rise people. It's like, no, people have to make a living. Like, there's so much, like, you talk to some of these people and you talk about, like, the supply chain, like, something that's, like, was taught to me at a young age, the supply chain, how it works. Like, these people have, like, never heard of it. They just think, like, the food appears in the superstore. Like, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And that's the people who are fighting against. So the fight should not be hard. Like, these people are stupid. Like, this fight should not be hard. It should not be a hard challenge to, like, break the conditioning of these people. It's like, you don't even know where your food comes from. You don't even know. Like, you can't explain the supply chain to me. You've never done anything. What? Your sociology degree is gonna make you a big shot in this world? I'm sorry. You don't even know where milk comes from. So don't lecture me on a protest that you obviously haven't researched all that well yourself. And after a pandemic, there's often a period of social change, and we just have to make sure that our period of social change is good, it's righteous, and it's for the people. You know, a people's revolution by the people, for the people, of the people. And, you know, when the next election is triggered, probably, you know, I'm guessing in a couple months. I know a lot of political people don't want another election, like, they don't want to spend it again, but it'll probably be in a couple months to a year, like late 2022 to maybe early 2023 when the next election will happen. And that's, people are going to hopefully come out in a big way. And in this period of social change, like, during the next election, people need to get out. Like, I'm going to make a video in a little bit about, you know, what to do to make change, but it's as basic as, you know, donating a little bit of money to a candidate you like in a nomination. Like, elections are won and lost in the nomination phase. Like, if you want nationalist, like, Canada First people, go and find them in your community. And if you're one of those people, run yourself. Try to nominate, you know, a lot of these globalists. And let's form a new government of people that want the best for this country. You know, Trudeau's given us a great benchmark to run against. It's like, well, you can either have us who like freedom, or you can have people like that who want to lock you down and call your neighbors racist and sexist. It's us versus them. And hopefully the us win. You know, I'm not a big fan of the them. Them being the globalists. Our future needs to be Canada first. I tell you, our future needs to be Canada first. Like, we have to save our country at this point, and there's not a whole lot of time left. You know, I'll go over this in a future video because I don't want to make this one too long, but no, I'll save that for another video. So, in summary, don't trust the media. The politicians are corrupt. Support your truckers. Donate to them if they even have donations open. I think they have the Give, Send, Go page open. Support them. If you are, you know, in the military, the police, do a little bit of civil disobedience. Like, if you don't want to follow the orders, don't follow the orders. This is one of the most important periods of Canadian history. Let's not screw this up. Let's make it count. I'm tired of being locked down. I'm tired of, seeing my fellow Canadians treated as second class citizens. I'm tired of having a QR code branded onto me and I can't do anything without it. And going forward, let's make sure this doesn't happen again. Let's make sure that this massive overcorrection does not happen again. This has been Save Canada. The politicians and the elites, they hate you. But me and my grassroots friends, we all love you. Have a great day.